The moon hung low in the sky, an ethereal light casting delicate shadows across the cobblestone path that led to Old Hollow Cemetery. As they ventured deeper into the graveyard, Jake and Mia laughed, their voices rich and carefree, while Tom and Sarah shared conspiratorial whispers, both couples buoyed by the warm glow of flasks filled with cheap liquor. The gravel crunched beneath their feet, a sound that danced between the living and the forgotten. If the graves could speak, would they be laughing too? Tom strolled ahead, pulling his flashlight from his pocket, its beam slicing through the thickening fog. "Look at that one," he called out, illuminating an ornate tombstone that loomed like a sentinel over the resting dead. The inscription had faded with time, but even in its dilapidation, it spoke of someone who had once lived, loved, and now lay silent beneath the earth. Who do you think they were? Tom's eyes glinted with a mix of curiosity and bravado. "I bet they were buried with a lot of secrets," Sarah replied, her voice quivering slightly. She wrapped her arms around herself, half from the chill and half from an unease that deepened as the breeze whispered through the branches overhead. The air felt sharper here, charged with an energy that set their skin tingling. "Come on, we're not scared of a few ghosts, are we? Come on, let's just enjoy the night," Mia chimed in, her laughter ringing like a wind chime, but her eyes darted nervously toward the shadows that seemed to stir around them. They clinked their flasks together, an unholy toast, before taking a long swig. How many spirits lingered here, resigned to watch the living dance on their graves, oblivious to the chains that still bound them to this world? The atmosphere shifted, the air thickening with unexplainable tension. A hushed heartbeat echoed in the distance, almost like a whispering voice, murmuring secrets to the wind. For a moment, the laughter faded as they exchanged glances, a shared understanding passing between them. Something felt askew. "Did you guys hear that?" Jake's bravado faltered. His smile dropped as he turned towards the darkened path leading further into the graveyard. The thrill of the unknown was no longer exhilarating. It felt like a warning. As they moved forward, what remained hidden began to slip through the veil, the whispers growing louder, beckoning them deeper into the heart of the cemetery. The group pressed on, the weight of silence settling heavily around them. Thick vines coiled over the headstones like fingers clutching at memories long buried. The flashlight beam flickered as Tom waved it over the gravestones, revealing cryptic engravings that twisted into grotesque shapes in the shadows. Every inscription spoke 1,000 words, though none seemed to reach their lips. It was as if the cemetery had drawn a deep breath, waiting for the right moment to exhale despair. "Over here!" Tom's voice broke through the stifling quiet, enthusiasm overpowering the unease that had begun to creep into their bones. He directed the beam at a tomb adorned with an intricate angel, its wings chipped and dulled by time. Beneath it, the name Amelia Torrance rested like a forgotten prayer. "Look at her birth and death dates," he said, a hint of mock suspicion in his tone. "Seems like she had a pretty short life. Wonder what happened to her." "Maybe she just got tired of life," Sarah said, her voice uncomfortably light. Yet beneath her words lay a tremor, as if the thought resonated too closely with her own fears. For a heartbeat, they remained still. The only sound, the distant rustle of leaves as the wind weaved through the cemetery. "Let's toast to her then," Jake suggested, raising his flask once more, but the lightness in his tone was fading. Just as they clinked their flasks, an icy gust swept through them, a shiver spiraling down their spines. Was it the chill of the evening or something more sinister? The whispers surged, a cacophony that danced just beyond comprehension, wrapping around Tom's words. With each laughter-filled syllable, the absolute stillness of the graves seemed to deepen, swelling from the shadows. As if sensing their interruption, the cemetery began to shift. Something ancient was awakening. "Guys, I think we should head back," Mia muttered, her voice barely escaping her lips. But a swell of darkness crested behind her, and her heart raced as unearthly silhouettes flitted just beyond her vision. This was not mere folklore. A reality draped in shadows had begun to materialize, beckoning them to uncover what the living had long discarded. The veil over the past now thinned. Their laughter faded into a haunting echo against the tombstones that had not laughed in centuries. The shadows thickened, bleeding from the headstones and pooling around their feet like ink spilled on parchment. "This isn't funny anymore," Tom snapped, his bravado eroded by a visceral unease. The air vibrated with whispers that dripped with solemnity, a growing chorus that seemed to crawl over their skin. It was as though every grave had a story to tell, but their dormant tales gnawed at them, clawing for validation from the living. "I don't want to stay here," Mia echoed, her voice trembling like a leaf caught in the wind. The playful night had twisted into something murky, an uncertainty weighing heavily in the air. Across the graveyard, the lanterns they'd brought fluttered in the breeze, casting erratic silhouettes that danced like the lost souls watching them. Even the trees seemed to lean in, cupping their gnarled branches as if to eavesdrop on the reckoning that was brewing. As if in answer to her plea, silence enveloped them abruptly, smothering the whispers, drawing them back into the oppressive dark. For a fleeting moment, time stood still. The world narrowed to just the four of them, two couples intertwined with unspoken dread. Jake felt something stir near his heart. A creeping awareness settled there as the hairs on his arms bristled in tandem with the muffling grip of fear. Then they heard it, a faint but distinct moan, a sound so human yet laced with sorrow that it seemed to echo from beneath the earth itself. "What was that?" Sarah gasped, her grip tightening around Tom's arm. The chant-like murmurs returned, taut with urgency, wrapping around them as they scanned the graveyard, desperate for any sign of refuge or reprieve. "Maybe we should just—" Jake began, but before he could finish, the ground shook, and the earth trembled beneath them, as if the very grave they stood upon sought vengeance. The whispers crescendoed into a cacophony that drowned out their fear, vibrating with sorrow, regret, and wrath. Their youthful exuberance had morphed into thick, clouded dread, the silence now screaming louder than their fading laughter. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the fog, draped in tattered shrouds of night. It flickered like an old film, painfully familiar yet horrifyingly distorted. Eyes like hollow moons bore down upon them, a gaze indelibly marked by centuries of anguish. In that moment of raw terror, the truth unfurled, a warning etched into the bones of the cemetery. They were never truly alone. The graves around them sighed, and the veil was torn asunder. The whispers were alive, pointing fingers at the fools who dared disturb their eternal slumber, and the couples, now paralyzed with horror, understood too late that they had awakened a past that was meant to stay buried. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more Twisted Twilight tales, and look for scary reads on Amazon using the affiliate link in the description below.